Alright guys, I am back in my den of snakes bringing you some more ball python entertainment. So butter that popcorn, lean on back, and kick off your shoes. And today I'm going to tell you about the Pinstripe ball python. So I thought I'd go through my collection and kind of give you kind of a one by one background and an update on the Pinstripe. I actually have a lot of Pinstripe in my collection. Believe it or not, the Pinstripe came on the scene, I'd say, probably about 2001. And if you're looking at all the ball python morphs, you're probably thinking, where did all these ball pythons come from? You got I think we have over 100, I think probably close to 200 single morph mutations. And the Pinstripe came on the scene, I'd say it was probably maybe the third or fourth one on the scene. I think the first one that came out was the albino, and then the pied, and then right after that it was the Pinstripe and the spider. And believe it or not, it was actually Brian Barczyk from BHB that kind of gambled on the Pinstripe project. And apparently he was exporting stuff out of Africa, and apparently they had a snake there that they were really excited about, and they said it was something new and unique, and he didn't even see it, which is pretty amazing. And believe it or not, for that first Pinstripe, he paid $27,000 without even seeing it, not even knowing if it was genetic. So he took a big chance on that. And then I heard kind of through the grapevine that the first babies he was selling for $25,000 a piece, and that kind of is really what set him on the map and kind of helped him build his whole operation. I think I heard through the grapevine too that he kind of paid for his building and all his racks, and, and he pretty much got to where he is today because of the Pinstripe. And now Pinstripes are like one of the cheapest snakes, actually. So you can pick up a Pinstripe for I'd say less than $100 for a hatchling. I think for my female Pinstripe, ready to breed, that I bought last year, I think I paid like $150 for her. So I thought I'd start with just the base mutation of a Pinstripe, and then I kind of show you what that looks like. And then I think what I'll do is I'll kind of go through the base mutations kind of one by one, and show you what the base mutations are, and then I'll kind of put them together and kind of show you what the combinations look like. So let's take a look at that. Okay, so this is my Pinstripe female, and I actually picked her up as part of a package deal last fall, and she's a big girl. She laid a big clutch of eggs this year, and they hatched, and I had some really good stuff hatch out of her. But this is what the base mutation of a Pinstripe looks like, and to me it almost looks like a gold, probably as gold as you can get on any snake. She is a really big girl. You can't even fit her on the camera. She's so big. But she did really well. So I really love the Pinstripe combos, even though they're not a really expensive snake. I think it should be in everybody's collection, just either as a pet or to breed. And so actually one of the first Pinstripes I bought was a Pinstripe pied, and let me show you what the pied looks like. Here, I'll pull out a big female pied. I thought she was going to lay this year. She just actually finished shedding here. If I can get her up without getting bit. So this is the pied, just a straight base pied. So if you mix the two together, you get a Pinstripe pied. And you notice on the pied, it has a lot of pattern, it's broken up, and it's kind of yellow and black. Let me show you what it looks like when you mix the two together. Okay, so this is what the Pinstripe pied looks like. And they're not very popular, I'd say. There's not a whole bunch of them out there. They used to be more popular a few years ago. And I actually bought this girl as a hatchling, and she was really slamming the rats for a while. And probably this last whole breeding season, I didn't actually pair her up this season, and she basically stopped eating. She hasn't eaten for like probably 6 months or 8 months, and she's maybe had a couple small rodents here and there, but nothing really substantial. So she's kind of way behind from where I was hoping she would be. But you see, she has a lot of length to her, which is good. So once she starts eating, she'll really put on the weight because she's definitely more mature. But she is a really beautiful snake. I really love the gold. I almost call it like a golden pied because it's kind of retains almost all the gold in the blotches without much of the black in there. So actually, I was looking on Morph Market for a pinstripe pied female, and you know, they were selling, I think, for about $750, $800, something like that for a hatchling. And I saw some for sale, and then they all sold, and then they were totally sold out for, I think it was like 2 years. I was looking for a pinstripe pied, and then this female came on, and it was a few $100s more than what they had been selling previously. And I didn't really care. I wanted a pinstripe pied, and I paid the price and bought this girl. And I haven't really seen a lot on there since, so I haven't checked Morph Market in a while, so there might be some on there. But sometimes the price is based on supply and demand. So if you're looking for something and there's none out there, and you're waiting a long time to buy it, a lot of times you'll pay a higher premium just to get into the project. And if I would have got in earlier, if they would have been available, boy, this guy's running, then I would have been further ahead on the project. But the way it is, I'm kind of behind from I really wanted to get into the pinstripe pied project, probably 3 or 4 years ago, and it took me a while to find a decent female, but I'm really happy to be in the project, and she's just a really beautiful snake. Okay, so if you're wondering what a hatchling pinstripe looks like, this is it right here. So I hatched this girl out. This is actually, yeah, it's a girl. It's a female. And she has eaten 5 meals so far, so she's pretty small still. And as you can see, the pattern and the color doesn't really change from when they're small to when they get older. Which is really neat. Some of them, I'd say most ball pythons, they tend to fade out as they get older. Some of them intensify, but it's pretty rare. But the good thing about the pinstripe is it stays the same pretty much throughout the whole life of the snake. Alright, so take a look at this. This is actually a pastel adult female, and this is my pinstripe. And the pastel's a little bit yellower than a normal. The pattern's a little more reduced. And let me show you what happens when you mix the two. Alright, so this is a pastel pinstripe female. And she, according to the ultrasound, she still has some eggs in her, but I don't think she's really that far along. I got 2 snakes left that I think might lay really late, but it's interesting how they kind of combine. So the pinstripe really gets broken up a lot, and they get a lot of yellow. Some of them have more or less yellow. This one has more yellow, I think, along the belly here than a lot of my lemon blasts. And believe it or not, I have 4 adult female lemon blasts. Let me show you some of the other ones I have. So this is probably my biggest pastel pinstripe female. And I always thought on this girl, she had some kind of a giant gene. And her babies were really big. And if you look at her head, she's got a really, really big head. And if I can do this without getting bit, she's probably one of my most skittish, wildest snakes. I bought her as a package deal, but just take a look at the size of her. If you can see it. She's got a really, really big head on her. That's just really, really huge. But she doesn't have quite the yellow as the other one. And I think, too, it depends on the line of pastel. Because there's different lines of pastel, and some of them have more color and some of them have less yellow. But she laid a really big clutch egg. She's a really big snake. And that's a 7030 tub, ARS 7030. So look, she fills the whole thing. So here's another pastel pinstripe female. And she is not in a good mood. She's hissing and kind of grumpy. But she laid a big clutch of eggs, and they're just starting to get back on food. So if you notice, their bellies are pretty much clear on the lemon blasts. So the pastel pinstripe, kind of a nickname, is lemon blast. But they are really neat snakes. I really like them, and I think I got most of these as part of that package deal. Some guy was going out of the business. He was getting rid of his collection, and I picked them all up at a pretty decent price. So here's my fourth pastel pinstripe, and she is really stuck in a shed. So what I usually do is, now when they're stuck in a shed, I kind of spray down this. I use Pro Cocoa, but it's kind of the same as Repta Chip. Any of the coconut husk kind of chunks, and I like to keep it really moist. So I pretty much went with paper towel for most of my collection, but every now and then I'll get one stuck in a bad shed, and it needs a little extra help, and I think the coconut husk really helps to kind of get the sheds off. And this one, it's coming off real easy. But all I have to do is wet them down a little bit and then just kind of rub it. But if you notice on this girl, she's a lot darker than some of my other lemon blasts. I think she's probably my darkest one. And believe it or not, all these girls laid this year, so I got a bunch of really nice snakes from them. And I actually got some hatchlings. Let me show you those. So here's a little pastel pinstripe hatchling, 50% het pied, and you really can't tell the het pied, and this guy's a little snapper. But it seems like with the lemon blasts, when they're small, they're a little bit more intense. So you can kind of see the colors are a little more intense, but not a whole lot more. So it might fade a little bit with time, but I don't think it's going to fade a whole lot. So, and these guys, all these guys, I'm definitely selling at the shows this year. So I won't keep any of these guys back. Okay, speaking of holding things back, this is a pastel pinstripe high expression scaleless head that I'm definitely holding back. It's a female, and I'm hoping to eventually breed this with another scaleless head male to produce some totally scaleless lemon blasts, which is going to really be insane. And I've actually never seen a scaleless lemon blast, so it should be really interesting what it kind of looks like. So I'm really excited about this project. I'm holding I think I'm holding all my scaleless head hatchlings back to kind of get a jump start on the project. Here's another pastel pinstripe scaleless head female. So I'm holding both these back, but basically they're almost exactly the same. So here's another pastel pinstripe that I'm selling at the show, and this one, let's see, this is actually a male, and something about this, it almost looks like it has something else in it, because the pattern is broke up a lot more, it seems like, than the other ones, and it just seems a lot more intense. I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but it almost seems like it has fire or something in it, because it's really, really bright. That's a really good looking snake. So here's another one of my hatchlings. And this one, when it came out, I thought it was a pinstripe because it wasn't really broken up that much, and I thought maybe it was pinstripe with a little fire. But then as it's matured, it's definitely a pastel pinstripe because I didn't have fire in the mix, and you can definitely tell it's a lemon blast. So here's a tiny little new hatchling female lemon blast that only ate one meal so far since it's hatched. And boy, now that I'm going through these, I didn't realize I had so many lemon blasts in my collection. This one's definitely going to be up for sale at the show. So I actually had more than I thought. Here's 2 more females. Lots of lemon blasts if you guys are interested at the show. So here's a male pinstripe that I hatched out this year. And he's only eaten 1 meal so far. And he's got some pretty good weight to him, even though he's just eaten 1 meal. But I think these pinstripes, hands down, are one of my favorite snakes. Just the straight pinstripe. It's a really, really neat morph. And if you don't have pinstripe in your collection, I would highly recommend at least something with pinstripe. Alright, so I have this female pinstripe back in this tub. Let's see what happens when we add bamboo to the mix. And I love the bamboo stuff. I have to say, it's not very popular. And one of the reasons I like it is just because it's unique, and not a lot of people are doing it. And actually, I don't think a lot of people have actually seen bamboos. You know, I start talking bamboos, and people are like, "What is that?" It almost looks like a spider, but it doesn't have the spider wobble, and it doesn't mix the same when you mix it with other genes. So it's, you know, I really like the bamboo, and I'm kind of bringing it to the Colorado shows because, you know, I think I've only seen like 1 or 2 bamboos, and they have been in combos. They really haven't been the straight bamboo genes. So let me show you what happens when you blend these 2 snakes together. Okay, here is the bamboo pinstripe, and I like this guy so much I'm going to actually hold him back. Because I'm really curious to see what a snake like this would look like as an adult. If it really keeps the intense color and pattern and all these little funny little marks along the sides. And the sides are kind of interesting. They're kind of, whoa, he's starting to run. But this is, I think one of my favorite bamboo combos is when you add the pinstripe. Pinstripe goes good with a lot of stuff, and I think it's one of the things that really goes with the bamboo. Because a lot of times if you mix something with bamboo, it just kind of fades it out. But this is like totally different and totally unexpected, and I really like it. Alright guys, you ready for this? I'm going to combine my pinstripe with my bamboo. And then on top of that, I'm going to add a pastel. And let's see what we get. So this is it. This is the pastel pinstripe bamboo. And the thing I really like about this one is the patterns on the top really look like hieroglyphics. If you can kind of see that, if I can get the snake to hold still. So let me see if I can get a close-up of this. It almost looks like right here. Like this one right here. Take a look at this. To me, this looks like a little reindeer right here. Doesn't that? And then you have, yeah, you can almost put like animals and figures and symbols to all these little patterns. And this one, I think I'm going to nickname the King Tut, because one of my viewers recommended that name, and I think it really fits. So, and I think I'm going to keep it just because I want King Tut here in my collection to grow up, and we'll see what it looks like when it matures. It's a really beautiful snake. So that's pretty much the crown jewel of my pinstripes so far. And I'm just getting started. I'm planning to mix it all with a whole bunch of other stuff in the future. So that's a really neat snake. Alright, so I hope you enjoyed that show about the pinstripe ball python. It's a little bit different. I've never really done a show on just one particular morph. And I might go through a couple more morphs on some of my other videos, just kind of show you what certain things are and how they blend together, and kind of I think it really helps to see the base morph on each one. So Another thing, if you're just starting out and you don't know some of the terminology and the definitions, so when we say morph, it's basically just the color pattern on the ball python. So there's different morphs, which means it's different, and different and different morphs have kind of different, I'd say, peculiarities about the gene, the particular gene. One thing about the pinstripe is I've always thought it was a dominant, which means in ball python terminology, our genetics are a little bit different than the mainstream terminology. And when we say something's dominant, basically we mean there is no super form. In the super form, basically they have 2 copies of the gene, and everything they breed with, the babies are all going to be, like if there was a super pinstripe, everything that it breeds with gets 1 copy of the gene, and it would be a pinstripe. And I always thought it was dominant instead of co-dominant, and with co-dominant, there is a super, but with dominant, there's not. And with pinstripe, I always thought there was no super, and it was a dominant. And recently on Morph Market, I saw BHB actually selling a super pinstripe. And I'm not sure how accurate that was. You know, sometimes things get a little jumbled on Morph Market. But if that's the case, then it could be co-dominant. There could be a super pinstripe, which would be pretty cool. So that's pretty much all I have for the pinstripe. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.